Since breaking into the mainstream in the early 80s, rap has supplanted rock and roll as the music of choice for most young people. Its extreme popularity reflects its diversity. Rappers touch on any and every subject from politics, finances, to even religion. Let's break down the top 10 rappers of all time in terms of albums sold. But before we do, help us reach platinum status by clicking on that subscribe button. The Notorious B.I.G.
He always getting shot or shot at. He gonna pull through this one again, make a few records about it, and it's gonna be over.
Biggie is often named as one of the top MCs of all time, if not the best of all time, even 20 years after his untimely death at the age of 24. What's even more amazing is that he still cracks the top 10 on lists despite releasing only 2 albums in his lifetime. He still left a gigantic imprint on the genre and music as a whole.
Live a life without fear, putting 5 carats in my baby girl ear.
He had bars and probably the best flow of any rapper ever. There's nothing small about the rapper whose original moniker was Biggie Smalls. Because that name also belonged to another rap artist, styled after a famous street hustler from Brooklyn, Biggie, aka Christopher Wallace, took on another name before the release of his debut album, The Notorious B.I.G. In a tale straight out of Shakespeare, Wallace was gunned down in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles, which occurred 6 months after the death of his former friend and eventual enemy, Tupac Shakur. The two were thick as thieves earlier in their lives, but feuded after Tupac was shot 5 times outside a studio in Manhattan. The West Coast rapper accused Biggie of being responsible for the attempt on his life. Their feud would have gloomy consequences. It became the biggest and most well-known beef in rap history. Their murders remain unsolved to this day. Ludacris.
This is my favorite car right here. I rode around the whole southeastern region of the United States of America in this car.
Christopher Brian Bridges, better known as the rapper Ludacris, was probably the most consistent and popular rapper behind Eminem after the millennium. Probably the best known single rapper associated with the Dirty South movement and fellow listmates OutKast, Ludacris was actually born in Champaign, Illinois. He moved to Atlanta when he was 9 years old. Luda started out as a DJ at Atlanta's top hip-hop station, Hot 97.5. This allowed him to make enough contacts in the then booming hip-hop scene in Atlanta to get his demo in the right hands at the right time. Debuting on the Timbaland beat Fat Rabbit, the song got him a record deal with Def Jam around 1998. His first album, titled Incognito, didn't sell well but was repackaged and was resold as Back to the First Time that same year in 2000 after Fat Rabbit blew up in multiple countries. The singles, Southern Hospitality and What's Your Fantasy, helped his repackaged debut reach number 4 on the Billboard 200 chart. Striking while the iron was hot, he then released his sophomore album, Word of Mouth, and the rest is history. The lead single, Roll Out My Business, produced by Timbaland, made Luda a household name, expanding into acting roles, namely in the Academy Award-winning Crash.
You see what that woman just did? You see that?
What? She's cold.
She got colder as soon as she saw us, though.
And the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Hey, Mia, you better hide your baby, or
you better hide that big-ass forehead.
I was just joking.
Luda made the Forbes list for top hip-hop act multiple times. He has sold a staggering 15 million albums in North America alone.
I just continue just disobeying everything that they tell me.
Thanks to his incredible flow and often comedic style, he's been a mainstay of the hip-hop game for the better part of 20 years now. While his best years are clearly behind him, a lot of Southern rappers have had Luda to thank for their success. MC Hammer.
Yeah, my little homeboy Easy E, rest in peace. If you look at the Too Legit to Quit video, you see Easy's right there to be in it.
Perhaps outside of DMX and Biggie and Tupac, there's no better cautionary tale in the hip-hop genre than MC Hammer. The Bay Area legend who was close friends with Tupac and even signed to Death Row Records at the time of Pac's death, Hammer took the rap game and music industry by storm in the late 80s and early 90s. Coming right before gangsta rap took over, Hammer made rap music that everyone could love. It wasn't lyrical, but very catchy. He infamously made and lost over $30 million in a short period of time. Hammer spent tons of money on houses and cars and bled more by placing over 100 people on his personal payroll, in an attempt to help out as many people as he could from his old neighborhood. One of his closer friends told a story about how Hammer would hear a certain person was having a hard time and would hire them as a dancer. And if they couldn't dance, they'd just be paid to stand on the stage. Like grunge-killing hair metal, gangsta rap changed rap forever, and Hammer was perhaps the most famous casualty, well, besides Vanilla Ice. Dropping the MC from his moniker, a revamped Hammer had a platinum album, adopting the more laid-back, funk-influenced West Coast gangsta production. Tupac wrote many of the songs on that album. However, after Tupac died, he left Death Row and his career petered out.
Please, stop Hammer time.
DMX.
You decided getting up and running around naked in the hallways of the hotel was a good idea.
Speaking of cautionary tales, after the death of Tupac and Biggie, the two men that stepped in to fill the void were Jay-Z and DMX, both from New York, but completely different. While Jay-Z followed in B.I.G.'s footsteps, rapping about possessions and really having a mafioso style, DMX was all about hardcore street life and dealing with his inner demons. In short, Jay was a smooth rapper while DMX was the rapper that spoke from the heart and kept it real. While the two were rivals, they never feuded. They even got together for one of the most successful rap tours of all time in the Hard Knock Life tour in 2000. At his peak, DMX's work ethic made him one of the most sought-after rappers of his time. He, Tupac, and Future are the only rappers to have ever released 2 #1 albums in the same year.
After I dropped my first album, an offer was made to me that if I was able to drop another album or record another album within 30 days, that I'd get $1 million.
But while Jay-Z is arguably still on top, DMX has been arrested many times. He had a long and public struggle with addiction and mental health. He hasn't made relevant music in years. Despite all that, there's no denying that X was a pioneer in the rap game. Nelly.
Slipping and sliding, look how he riding past the popo. This how he riding for that go-go.
There was a time when everything that Nelly touched turned into gold. After Eminem, during the early 2000s, Nelly was perhaps the biggest rapper in the game. He earned that because of sheer will. He hailed from St. Louis, a city that was essentially a wasteland on the hip-hop map, and turned it into one of the hot spots in the game. Nelly broke onto the scene with his debut album Country Grammar in 2000, popularizing a type of flow that's been hard to replicate since. Nelly helped show that St. Louis had a style and slang of its own. He helped the members of his group, the St. Lunatics, drop an album and earn varying degrees of success along the way. Nelly rapped about a lot of hardcore content. It almost cost him his record deal at Universal after higher-ups deemed it too negative. Luckily for Nelly, Universal, and rap fans, Nelly got the deal and ended up dropping a lot of great genre-bending music, even dabbling with country music at one point.
And a nice set of thighs always helps.
OutKast.
Over here, you got Big Boy, the Aquarius, half of the group.
And on this side, you got Andre 3000, the Gemini of the group. Y'all know what it is.
OutKast was one of the best hip-hop groups of all time. Along with the Ghetto Boys, Andre 3000 and Big Boy helped put the South on the map in the 90s, when rap was strictly an East and West Coast thing. Coming out of Atlanta, they succeeded by not copying others, but by forging their own path. Part of the Dungeon family, literally a basement recording studio in one of their producers' mother's basement, Andre 3000 Benjamin, and Antoine Big Boy Patton met when they were 16 years old, both attending an arts high school in Atlanta. They helped popularize a Southern style that had heavy funk and soul influences. They had some legitimate classic albums in the 90s like Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, ATLians, and Aquemini. They hit their home run with the double album Speakerbox, The Love Below, 2 solo projects rolled into one, which sold over 10 million albums thanks to the massive hits Hey Ya by Andre 3000 and I Like the Way You Move by Big Boy. While they've experimented with careers in acting, they are better together than apart. They have reunited in recent years for shows, but there hasn't been any new music as a duo. Regardless of whether or not they ever record together again, there's no doubt that the South wouldn't have blown up like it did when it did, if not for OutKast. There's a reason why many rappers today name Andre 3000 as not only one of the best rappers of all time, but the greatest rapper of all time. The Beastie Boys.
Who the hell are you? We're the band. The band? Where's your instruments? What the?
Formed in 1981, it may surprise many that the Beastie Boys are even on this list, considering they predated the gigantic explosion of hip-hop into the mainstream and never changed their sound to accommodate what was popular. Despite being known as one of the most influential hip-hop groups of all time, the Beastie Boys actually formed as a 4-piece hardcore punk band called the Young Aborigines in 1978. After experiencing some success with their debut single, Cookie Puss, the group made a full transition to hip-hop and released their debut album, Licensed to Ill, that same year. Considering they were relatively new to the genre, it was pretty amazing that the album is still considered a classic. From 1986 to 2004, Adam Keefe Ad Rock Horowitz, Adam Nathaniel MCA Yao, and Michael Lewis Mike D. Diamond released 7 platinum albums and are known as one of the longest-lasting hip-hop acts of all time. While their style remained the same for most of their career, the beats they selected went from a more punk rock feel in the 80s to a more trippy psychedelic feel in the 90s to a return to their roots and a musical expansion in the 2000s. MCA died from cancer of one of his saliva glands in 2012, 1 month after the group was to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the third rap group to earn that honor after Run DMC and Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5. Shortly thereafter, the Beastie Boys broke up out of respect for MCA. The boys had sold over 50 million albums worldwide and helped show that rap could be as diverse as any other form of music. They were one of the first groups to focus on international political incidents with their Free Tibet concerts. It raised the ire of entire nations like China. It's safe to say that these three fought for their right to party and won. Tupac Shakur. At one point in time, Tupac Shakur was the highest selling rap artist ever, thanks to the fact that he had an incredible work ethic that has yet to be replicated. Pac recorded so much music because he was constantly either getting arrested or getting sued, and that cost him a lot of his money and time. He always felt like he was playing catch-up and even died broke, according to his mother, who recently passed away. The best testament to that fact is that there are still anywhere from 50 to 100 unreleased Tupac songs. He released more albums after he died than he did while he was alive, and he released 5 albums in his life. Despite the fact that he died over 20 years ago, his music sounds as relevant and important today as it did then. That's because he made a broad range of music, from the political to music that focused on uplifting women.
I love women, I'm not gonna lie. I love women with a passion.
To music that focused on degrading women, to songs about his enemies, to literal songs about Hennessy. Tupac was an incredibly talented and intelligent artist. He died way too young. He passed away in 1996 at the age of 25. He's this generation's Elvis, although some would give that title to Eminem, in that his death shocked and devastated many to the point where some don't want to believe that he's actually dead. Maybe he and Elvis are hanging out on a beach somewhere. Jay-Z.
You ready, B? Let's go get him.
Since the death of his close friend and obvious influence, the Notorious B.I.G., there really hasn't been a rapper as consistent as Jay-Z, especially over his first 10 or so summers, known for dropping a new album every summer. Jay-Z went from a rapper who was known for his quick flow to a more casual, laid-back, mafioso flow. Perhaps because of his longevity, Jay is often mentioned as the greatest rapper of all time alongside the likes of Tupac, Biggie, Eminem, and Nas. It was a battle with the latter that produced 2 of the most famous diss tracks of all time. Besides his ability to put together consistently amazing albums, Jay is perhaps most well known for his incredible business acumen and his marriage to the Queen Bey herself, Beyoncé. No rapper has been as successful in the business world as Jay. Besides perhaps Dr. Dre, the two are now rap billionaires. The founder of Rockefeller Records and side businesses like Rockaware, he's expanded his portfolio with title and even partial ownership in the Brooklyn Nets. There's no denying that Jay-Z picked up the baton that was left when Biggie and Pac vanished.
See, artists come from nothing and then, you know, they known, he has a name. That's Kanye West. That's Kanye West. He signed an autograph.
He's every rapper's role model. While he could have well ended up behind bars early in his career for selling drugs or stabbing a record producer for leaking his album, he kept his nose clean and focused on his talents. Eminem.
I wanted people to hear me so bad.
Eminem has been so successful that he is actually the largest selling musician of this century.
Motor City.
Eminem very well could have still been leading this list had he retired or died after his best friend Proof's untimely death. The tragedy deeply affected Marshall Mathers' physical and mental health. After the diamond-selling albums The Marshall Mathers LP and The Eminem Show, M cleaned up his act and came back with a vengeance, going diamond again with the album Recovery. It showed a new side of the rapper that people hadn't seen before. If you were to ask every rapper on this list who they believe is the most technically sound, diverse, and talented rapper they've ever worked with or would want to work with, it would be Eminem. He can freestyle, he can rhyme fast, he can rhyme slow, he can even produce some amazing beats. The best example of his prowess comes from the song Renegade, which appeared on Jay-Z's classic album The Blueprint. On that song, on a beat Eminem produced, Slim Shady went toe-to-toe with Jay-Z, or even outclassed him according to Nas.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
It proved to most everyone that the white boy wasn't just a guy who made catchy first singles dissing pop stars. While he may not be as famous as he was in the early 2000s, where nearly everything he did blew up to the point that he won an Oscar for Best Original Song for Lose Yourself, he's still a beast in the game.
What punchlines I would pick and choose for this person that was in my face, but also be able to mix freestyle in with it.
Slim is capable of destroying your favorite rapper with a guest verse or creating a classic song when the mood strikes. That's why Eminem is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper, and why he's the top-selling hip-hop artist of all time. That's all for now. Don't forget to check out our other videos and subscribe to our channel.